Good morning. To you beautiful people watching at noon. If you're premiering the show, how you doing today, Coach?
I'm sick as shit, but I'm here to pod, and that's all that matters. Yo, the rain, traffic,
What?
and construction workers that just don't finish it. Now, not fuck the construction workers all the way, but god damn it, man. You guys are so important to shit. I know you guys want your money, but fuck, man. Finish the job sometimes. Jeez, the expressways were all fucked, man, trying to get here today. But it is what it is. I'm here.
It's gonna be a rough day, but that's all right because we're here for the love of the pod is what we like to say, right?
For the love of the pod.
Yeah. So you know how we like to get the show started. We go ahead. Let's get into the halftime give and go. First topic on the ballot: Michigan gets defeated in the NCAA tournament. Tight game, kind of pulled away at some point there. Me and you both thought Michigan was gonna have a deeper run this year around. I was a quite believer in the team that they had and kind of the way and style that they were playing, but as we saw, just wasn't enough to overcome a number one seed. We'll get into it later, but what was your thoughts on the game that you watched? Because I know you had Michigan going pretty far. So what did you think?
Yeah, I just think they got a little outplayed. I think there were some athletic deficiencies that they couldn't handle on the perimeter. Other than that, I think their two big guys did what you kind of expected them to do.
Yeah.
They just didn't have enough of the perimeter play to win that game, but it is what it is. I thought Michigan would be able to kind of dominate a little bit more throughout the tournament because of their big men, but their guard play kind of let them down a little bit as the tournament kept going. But it's always a one game affair. If they were to play again, I think Michigan will probably pull it out. But you don't get that chance in the NCAA tournament. You get one game and one game only.
Exactly. Yeah, one game only, and that's the beauty of the tournament right there. Going over to you, Coach. Topic 2, we got Arkansas losing in overtime in their game. They got knocked out of the tournament. What's your take there?
Yeah, this game was kind of like a tale of one team just realizing we're the better team. And that's exactly what happened. Arkansas had the game in hand for the most part, and then Texas Tech just went on an incredible comeback and run and momentum that Arkansas couldn't stop, and it led them all the way into overtime. Now, there were just some shots that Texas Tech just made, that you could just kind of write it off and say, hey, they made the shots to win the game. Could Arkansas have done some things differently? Maybe. I think there could have been times where they could have trapped, I think his name is Williams for Texas Tech, where they could have trapped him a little bit more, got the ball out of his hands, not allowed themselves to go one-on-one so much. Definitely in the post they could have did that, but sometimes you give and take. You go down there and try to trap them on a post, and then you give up an easy 3-point shot, and now you're sitting there going, why are you doing that? Why did you decide to double? So sometimes you just got to take the gamble and trust your players and trust them to just play one-on-one. But at the end of the day, I think the better team won. I think Arkansas went as far as I thought that they would go. I kind of predicted that they would lose. But when they were winning, I was kind of like, man, if they win this game, that'd be absolutely dope. I would obviously look like an idiot because I didn't pick them to go that far. But when they lost, I was kind of like, okay, well, at least I was right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Absolutely. Staying on you for this next topic. Duke, man, we got to talk about Duke. We'll get into them in a later segment, but just real quick thoughts from you, Coach. Duke looks crazy right now. They look pretty damn unbeatable.
Yeah, they definitely look unstoppable. And like you said, we're going to get into them a little bit more specifically when we talk about a certain player. But, I didn't think Duke – let me say this. I didn't pick them to win the national championship. It's not that I thought that they didn't have the capacity to do so.
Yeah.
I just didn't pick them. And now I have to sit back and just say, hey, sometimes this is why you don't root against a number one seed. And as we see right now, like most of the number one seeds, I believe all the number one seeds are the teams that are still standing in the NCAA tournament. So, much respect to Duke. Obviously, Duke is hard to root for only because of their just history of being very pompous and upright and kind of being like, the classes, rich, elite college school, and stuff like that. So you kind of like want to root against them because of those things. Well, depending on where you come from.
Yeah.
But Duke is a school that I usually not quietly, but out loud, I root against them. But if you put me on an NCAA basketball game, I'll probably go pick Duke.
There you go. If you're on a little college game there or something.
Yeah, if I played a college game, normally when I did have college games, I would pick Duke to play with because it's just Duke. You know what I'm saying? So
exactly right. No doubt there. Moving on to the next topic of the halftime give and go. Coming back to me, Florida makes the Final Four. We'll get into it a little bit later as well, just kind of how the whole Final Four is shaping out to be. But they did go ahead and beat Texas Tech, third seed in that lower division, in the lower end of the bracket. It was a good game. They only won by 5 points.
Yeah.
Florida's been playing great basketball all season. I'm really excited to see what they could do in the Final Four. Me personally, this is my pick to go to the championship game, but we're gonna go ahead and talk about that later. But they've been playing great. Texas Tech is a tough team. They're very athletic. They're very long, and I think Florida pulling out that win was kind of what I expected to happen.
Right.
You always kind of go into every year thinking like, oh yeah, this is the year the number one seeds are just kind of going to take over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the year it actually happened. So, keeping on the topic of another number one seed, Auburn makes the Final Four. We know Auburn just a few short years ago won the national championship as well when Kyle Guy was on the team. Auburn legend over there. But yeah, they're back in the Final Four. They're looking great. They're playing great ball. They played Michigan State in the Elite Eight. Put up a good fight. Won by 6 points, I believe it was, or 3.
One of their better players fell, right, or
something like that. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's what's ultimately going to hold them back. I think in this Final Four game, which is why I have Florida. I think comfortably making this championship game. Auburn did lose one of their best players in that Michigan State game, but I mean they another team that just all season, rightfully so, gets the number one seed because they've just been playing a great brand of basketball all year. The coach over there has been doing a good job as well. I forget his name off the top of my head, but no doubt to how great that program has been in recent years. You know what I mean? Like years prior before that, not really the school you were talking about, but definitely in the last 5 to 8 years, a school that's been very prominent on the national championship stage. So, for the last topic of the halftime give and go, I'm passing this back to you.
Yep.
Juju Watkins.
Yeah, man. Juju got hurt. And it sucks because you were kind of hoping that you would be able to see what she could do and what could potentially be her last year of college basketball. And the fact that they ended up playing UConn, it would have been dope to see Juju versus Paige.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't happen. I don't think this is going to hurt her draft stock. It just sucks that you didn't get to see her for the longevity of what could have been a USC Trojan women's run towards the championship. But hey, I hope that she gets the treatment and everything that she needs. I hope that she gets the surgery if she does need to have a surgery. I just hope everything goes right for her recovery.
Yeah.
Because it was just unfortunate to see her go down, but she has a bright future ahead of her. So prayers out to Juju, and as coaches, we just want to see you get better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she tore her ACL. It was, not an injury any of us like to see, especially in women's sports. It's actually more prominent in women's sports that they tear their ACLs just because of how their body is built. But yeah, I mean, we were talking about her just a few short episodes ago, how great she is.
Mm-hmm.
How good of an athlete she is, and it does suck seeing her fall and seeing USC fall out of the bracket because of it. But yeah, we wish her speedy recovery, and definitely look forward to I mean, I wonder if she's gonna stay another year or if she's just gonna go ahead and jump to the W. We will see. But that's been the halftime give and go. Let's go ahead and play our favorite game, Coach.
Our favorite game, Coach.
Who's cooking?
Yep.
And who needs to stay out the kitchen?
Yes, sir.
Number one on the docket. All right, talking about Duke. We know they got a special player over there. Special teams, special players, special plays.
Yeah.
And that guy is Cooper Flag. All right.
Cooper motherfucking Flag.
Cooper Flag. All right, just quick sidebar. I play NBA 2K. I just made a build like him yesterday, man. So like it's been kind of cool to kind of watch all this play out. It's a fun build to play with if anybody else plays. But anyways, keeping it back in the real life kind of aspect of it. I've been a quite a believer in Cooper Flag. I think ever since that USA men's select team got brought over to play against the Olympic team. Cooper Flag was one of those guys that was just naturally competing against everybody there, giving everybody a problem. Getting kudos from LeBron or other players there as well at the practices. He's just a winning basketball player.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily do one thing extremely well or fantastic, but he does all things great.
Yeah.
He could extend the floor and shoot the three ball. He had some struggles with it at the beginning of the year, but I think another creditation to that on how he's been able to improve it is his character. He's got a very determined mindset, and he's another one of those guys that's first in the gym, last one out. And kind of letting that translate into the NBA is going to be seamless, in my opinion. I mean, his play style is really something we don't see nowadays as far as being able to play both ends as efficiently as he does. I was watching a video about it the other day. In any type of efficiency metric that is possible to be measured, like in basketball at all, he is in the top 3 in each one of those metrics, whether it's on the defensive side of the ball or on the offensive side of the ball. That just shows how smart of a player he is, and how much of a determined player he is. Whether it's on defense, keeping his either the defensive net rating up, his defensive player efficiency up. Whether it's on offense, shooting an efficient percentage, distributing the ball well. He really does it all. I don't necessarily see one flaw in his game. Some could argue maybe the flaw would be that he doesn't do one thing extremely well. You know what I mean? And you kind of see that out of everybody coming out of college. Is like, okay, you could do that really well. That's why this team wants you. Versus Cooper Flag, he kind of just does everything great, but doesn't specialize in something. So I kind of wanted to see your take on that. I know you've been kind of indifferent on Coop, but I want to see kind of where you're standing about him.
I think he needs to go somewhere, as far as NBA is concerned, I think he needs to go somewhere where they already have a star. I think he'll be a great second option. I think he'll probably be one of the best young second options that's probably ever come into the NBA. Do I think he has the ability to be a star-level player in the NBA where you are building a team around him? Not necessarily, but I do agree with you with the fact that he is a winning player, and that he's going to add to any situation and make it better. Everything that he does is a positive for the most part, is a positive net rating on the floor, and that's what you're looking for. If you're a coach, if you're an organization, you just want a guy that can add to a winning culture. And I have to say, I don't think I was wrong about him not necessarily being a superstar, but I definitely was wrong about what his impact will be in the NBA.
Yeah. I agree with you, though. I could definitely see him being a great second option. Don't know how good he will be as a first option, but I think no doubt in my mind, if that's something a team is going to want him to be, I think he could definitely work into that role. But I don't think he's there yet, like going into a team and being a number one option anywhere. But anyway, staying on the Who's Cooking segment of this game, another guy that's been absolutely just hooping, All right. And he's been kind of these guys that one of the guys that people have talked down upon and kind of been throwing shade at for the past couple of seasons. Maybe rightfully so, but he's been staying consistent with his stat line. And, now
Yep.
he's leading the number 7 Atlanta Hawks in the East to a play-in tournament spot, possibly making the playoffs. And that guy is Trae Young.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Look, I've been a big fan of Trae Young ever since he was coming out of Oklahoma.
Okay.
I thought what he did over there with the Sooners in that NCAA tournament was absolutely insane. That year he had before he entered the NBA draft was crazy. And, that's where he was drawing the comparisons to Steph Curry and all these other great shooters. And, I mean, he is a great shooter. He's a good shooter, but he's just very inconsistent when it comes to his shooting percentage at the 3-point line.
I agree.
He isn't necessarily the most efficient scorer, but I think as an offensive player, he's probably one of the more efficient players just on offense in general. I mean, the guy averages a double-double a night with assists.
Yep.
I believe he averages about 12 assists a night.
Yep.
Very limited turnovers as well. He's a guy that defenses have to prepare for every single night and have to be ready to guard, because if you give him the shot and you let him get going, you'll see that Oklahoma Sooner, Trae Young come out. If you play up on him, he's going to find the open guy. And that's one of the guys that in any type of NBA organization you would love to have, because he's not selfish to any extent. He distributes the ball very well. I believe he does have one of the more higher usage rates in the game, but that's because of how well he's able to move it. So I mean, it makes sense to me. I think he's been playing great as a recent, and like we said, the Atlanta Hawks are the 7th seed. What's your take on Trae Young?
No, I mean, I don't really have too much of any difference in what you're saying. Ice Trae is showing up and doing what he does. I think the beautiful thing about it is that while he does have a high usage rate, he is making use of his teammates.
Yes.
And that's obvious by the fact that he's averaging up close to 12 assists a game. Over the last 6, 7, 8 games, he's been getting more than 15 assists per game. I think it was a couple games where he had 20-some points and 20 assists. The last game I watched, he had 19 points and 19 assists. So he's not ball hogging. He's getting his teammates involved. He's finding guys whenever he gets doubled or whenever they're trying to trap him at the top, coming off a pick and roll and things like that. He's finding guys. So I think he's playing a high level of basketball. I just wish that he had all the weapons around him, because I think that's what he's missing right now, is that a few years ago, he was able to get the Atlanta Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals. And since then, they've kind of just been a team that's either been treading water to get into the playoffs, or they've just been kind of lacking the ability to get that far. And so now it'll be interesting to see what the Atlanta Hawks can do with this iteration of their team. Jalen Johnson is hurt for the season, so it'll be interesting to see who steps up. But I think they are a piece or two away around Trae Young for being a team that in the East will be a hard team to beat.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think if they got somebody like a Giannis, that's automatically back in the conference final, man. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I agree with you there. Moving on to my favorite part of this game. Who should stay the fuck out the kitchen? Number 1, Bradley Beal.
Oh,
all right. God. He's been on this segment before.
Yes.
On the bad side of the segment as well. All right. But I think for all the right reasons. Look, Bradley, you're making a max contract. You're making over $50 million.
Yep.
You're in Phoenix. You're with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker.
Yep.
You ain't doing jack. You know what word I'm going to say. You ain't doing jack. All right. It's as simple as that. I think Kevin Durant has been got a little banged up a couple nights ago, and he's kind of been on and off with playing.
Yeah, I think he's out for a week or something.
Yeah, this should be Bradley Beal's time to step up, and he isn't really doing that as much as I'm sure the $50 million would like him to do, and the organization. I mean, this is a guy that when he was in Washington, was one of the more premier scorers in the league. That's why Phoenix ultimately traded for him, is to have that ultimate third option and build a crazy big three. And now we're here, and he ain't really doing anything. Very inefficient. He's missing easy shots.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's just him being washed. I'm not sure if it's the confidence that's playing a big role. But he's also not the best defensive player as well, which we know Phoenix has absolutely no business being in the playoffs because of their defense. But yeah, it's kind of been a little sad story with Bradley Beal because, when he was balling in Washington, I was a pretty decent fan of him, like putting up solid games, dropping 50 points every
Yeah.
couple of nights, and he was an exciting player to watch. And now you see him today, and it's like, well, this ain't the same Bradley I remember. So, what's your take on the whole Bradley Beal kind of saga, you could call it, in Phoenix?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I don't know if he is just not playing up to his capabilities because for a minute there in Phoenix he was being used as a scapegoat as to why their season was
Yeah.
underwhelming. And so maybe he's just kind of like, well, why y'all gonna need me to play superhero when y'all was using me as the reason for why things were going bad? So it's like, if I was the reason why things are going bad, then why y'all looking to me to play the superhero now? Like, y'all figure it out. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And that could be a little selfish on his part, but people are, they have emotions. People get tired of hearing things. People get tired of a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
So, like, as much as you would want somebody to stay professional and keep giving it their all, there's only so much you're gonna do when somebody is using you and using your name and your image and likeness to try to defame it or use it as a way to say this is the reason why certain things are not going the way that they're going, so that everybody else can not be looked at or not be held accountable the same way. So I think Bradley Beal is just in a situation where they wanted to trade him. They've been upset that he has a no trade clause and that he hasn't allowed them to or waived it to use that to get them, quote unquote, the pieces that they wanted or the player that they wanted. And there's tension in Phoenix that exists. There's not cohesiveness. I'm not even sure Mike Budenholzer is even a fan of Bradley Beal. So I think there's things that's going on there that we don't necessarily know about, but we'll see how it shapes up in the offseason.
Absolutely. Moving on to another guy that needs to stay out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Zach Kleiman of the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, we gonna let this one sit for a little bit. What are you doing? I don't understand how you could have a top 5 team in the West, which is already as competitive as it gets right now, and you fire your head coach who has a winning record, keep in mind,
Yes.
with you when he's come onto your organization, and a very, he's very positive. It's not like he's just 500. He's like significantly above 500. You fire him like 10 games before the season, before the playoffs coming around. It just doesn't add up to me, Coach. I'm not understanding why. I've been hearing that this is something that's kind of been building up throughout the season.
Okay.
And they kind of just pulled the plug now. But I don't see why now. Like that's what I'm not really understanding is why are they I don't get it. Right before the playoffs, it just does not add up to me. I think it was a terrible move because this new head coach is not going to have any time to be able to put in anything new that would change anything. It's going to be Coach Jenkins stuff. It's just going to be a different guy calling it. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on this whole Grizzlies firing situation?
Yeah, I just think the GM made a terrible decision at the wrong time. I mean, yeah, if you're gonna fire somebody, then at least wait for the playoffs to happen and wait for the playoffs to be over with,
Yeah.
and then fire him in the offseason. I get it. There was conversations about how they were underperforming against the top teams in the West, so that was one of the issues. Another one of the issues is that John Morant felt like the offense was no longer being catered to him. The offense was starting to be it was starting to be curated to be an offense that wasn't necessarily so John Morant centric, and to some capacity, it kind of makes sense. With all of the things and issues that Memphis was dealing with John Morant off the court, the coach had to make a decision about, well, I can't keep designing an offense around a guy that I don't necessarily know will or will not be on the floor. either due to injuries or due to some off the floor antics. So he created an offense that kind of worked with or without Ja. And I think Ja felt slighted by that, and he obviously feels like, part of what makes Ja Morant. Ja Morant is having the ball in his hands. And so if the coach is not necessarily adhering to that and making sure that you have the ball all the time, you raise a little ruckus and you go upstairs and you say, yo, this coach ain't doing what I want him to do. And if you're Memphis, right now you're not in a position to where you have a superstar player that's not necessarily excited to play. So if you have a superstar player that has an issue with your head coach and you want to keep the superstar player, what do? You
get rid of the coach,
Get rid of the coach.
Yeah.
So I think it's really just as simple as that. They haven't been competing or faring well against the top teams in the West the entire season. And I think Ja Morant was no longer a fan of the way the offense was structured.
Yeah, no, I heard those. I heard that as well within the media, and I think it's definitely true to a certain extent. But I also think it's just Ja Morant having a little bit of an ego.
Yeah, it is.
So
100%.
It's gonna be interesting to see how that whole team plays out. I think it's gonna crumble very shortly, but
yeah,
we will see. I'm not wishing that upon them. I think Memphis is a fun team to watch always, but just very unfortunate what's going on over there. That's been who's cooking and who needs to stay out of the kitchen. Let's go ahead and pivot over to the halftime report. All right. Staying on the Memphis Grizzlies in this whole coaching situation, let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into Coach Taylor Jenkins. He's been coaching this team for a couple seasons now. He really has kind of led this team.
6 seasons?
Yeah. So he's seen this team build from kind of like the ground up. Ever since Zach Randolph, left the organization back in whenever that was. If it was so long ago now.
It was like 2019.
Yeah. So Taylor Jenkins has been here throughout that entire time, and he's seen Ja Morant get drafted, Jaren Jackson Jr. come onto the team, Desmond Bane, and kind of this team be assembled. And, they do have a deep run in the playoffs a couple years ago. And then it feels like every year, like especially last year, just injury riddled. And, whether players were out because of disciplinary issues or, again, guys being injured, like there was just no continuity and no kind of stabilization within the team environment. And when it rains it pours, right? Like if you can't beat the top teams, of course they're going to start coming after your head because they view themselves as one of the top teams in the West. So kind of seeing this all play out. Well, what is your thoughts on first kind of Coach Jenkins and how this season has played out for the Memphis Grizzlies, and secondly, where do you think he might actually end up?
That's a good question. The second half of that is a very good question, and I have an interesting take on that. I think Taylor Jenkins is just it's politics. It's unfortunate that he got fired due to the politics of the NBA. Like I previously stated before, there could be some things in the front office where maybe somebody is starting not to like Taylor Jenkins the way that they thought. Maybe they're no longer believing in him the way that they used to believe in him. And then on top of that, when you got Ja Morant, who's a superstar player, who's complaining about the way that the offense is structured, and apparently has been talking to the organization and talking to certain people and saying how unhappy or not pleased he has been with the way that the offense has been. You couple that with the fact that the team hasn't been performing well against the Lakers or Houston or OKC or anybody like that, you're looking at a projection that says that Taylor Jenkins as the head coach is not the coach that's going to get us over the hump. Do I believe that? No. I do believe that he has been subject to recency bias of what it looks like right now versus what it was looking like prior to Ja Morant being suspended, prior to them experiencing so many injuries and different things like that. I think if you look at the total history that he's had with Memphis, he has earned the right to maintain being the coach and kind of weather the storm and right the ship. But unfortunately, in the NBA, you don't get that chance a lot of the times.
No, you don't.
And it's trickling down in a lot of sports. It ain't just the NBA, college level, high school level, shit, even in AAU. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the structure of the AAU, coaches are being just let go left and right for all type of reasons: political, personal things, all type of stuff. It's just the way that it goes. And so you kind of have to just be winning all the time.
Yeah.
You don't really have a chance, or you just got to have a very, very strong relationship with the organization. And speaking of somebody who has a strong relationship, and which is why I think the second half of that question was interesting. Forgive me. I think a good place for Taylor Jenkins to probably end up, and this could potentially happen, would be the Chicago Bulls.
I knew you were going to say that because that's what I thought too.
And the reason why I think it could end up being the Chicago Bulls, because I have a very sneaky, suspicious feeling that in this offseason, we're going to find out that Mark Eversley is going to take a position elsewhere. Billy Donovan is going to get promoted to general manager of the Chicago Bulls, and he's going to hire Taylor Jenkins.
Wow. See, I didn't expect that. I just thought Billy Donovan was going to get fired or something.
I don't think he's going to get fired.
He might not now
because he has a great relationship with the team.
Well, that, and then they did just secure their play-in spot the other day, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's literally what AK has been wanting this season since the trade deadline is, okay, let's just make the play-in. And that's what Billy Donovan did. And Modest is playing better. Kobe's looking good. Josh Giddey's playing better.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted to see, I guess. So I mean, shoot, that's crazy, man. Like I didn't even view it like that. I do think that Taylor Jenkins could be a guy that does become the next head coach of the Chicago Bulls. But I see it more so of Billy maybe moving on or getting fired from the team. But I do see your point that, he does have a really good connection with AK and ME up there in the front office.
And the Reinsdorfs. It's been
and the Reinsdorfs.
It's been reported consistently about the relationship he has with the Reinsdorf and the Reinsdorfs family and how well that's been from Jerry to Michael, and obviously the relationship with AK, and then he got his son to be the G League head coach.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
I feel like there is a good feeling about Billy Donovan and his basketball acumen within the Chicago Bulls organization. So I do think if he were to vacate the head coach spot, I don't think it would necessarily be because he got fired. It would be more so because he got promoted to a position within the organization. I do think general manager will most likely be the thing because Mark Eversley has been similar to Ian Cunningham for the Chicago Bears. He has been, I won't say tied to, but he's been sought after a few times for greater roles and other organizations. I'm not sure exactly what team or whatever will have vacancies open that he can move into. But it could be Charlotte. It could be anybody that could potentially be willing to move on from some of their presidents or whatever. And Mark Eversley could have a shot at being like a president of operations or something like that. And that would give Billy Donovan a chance to be promoted and move up to general manager for the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, okay. But interesting take. I like it. I like it. That's a little take for you guys, man. I like that. Moving on to the next segment of the halftime report. Going back to talking about Cooper Flagg and Duke. All right. In this NCAA tournament. Again, they've looked absolutely unbeatable, and I think it's for a multitude of reasons. Of course, Cooper Flagg has been the player that people have been saying he is. He's been absolutely balling out in this tournament since coming back from his injury, which he came back in time for the first round. Been playing great ball all season as well, not just in this tournament.
Yep.
And the team as a whole, I mean, they're built just like an NBA team. Like, they got tall, lengthy guys. Like they got a 7'2" guy. They got multiple 6'8", 6'9" guys in their starting five.
Yep.
They're just a big team, and they could shoot the ball very well. I forget that one guy. I forget his name, but the white guy that shoots the ball very well. I know that's like stereotypical, but I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's like KNU, something like that. I forget how to say his name, but regardless, they've been doing a great job over there at Duke. I'm a very big believer in their head coach over there. People thought when Coach K took a step down and didn't want to coach there anymore that it was kind of going to fall down from there. The program was kind of going to maybe not dissipate, but kind of, take a little bit of a step back for a bit. But honestly, man, Coach came right in and set the culture immediately. Like ever since last year, they weren't that great last year, but the culture was being built, and they were able to get the prospects that they wanted to get out of high school, and that's why they look how they are right now. So, what's your take on Duke? What do you see them doing possibly in the tournament? Are they winning the Natty? Are they losing in the championship game? What is your attribution to Duke's success in this tournament?
I think it is roster makeup, number one. They play hard. They play physical. Everybody understands their role, and nobody is playing with a lot of ego. And that helps out a lot when everybody understands what they're good at, and you can hold them accountable to do the things that they're asked to do. And that's always great for a coach when you got guys that are willing to buy into the system, buy into their role, and do what's asked of them. So that's number one. Number two, the matchups have been, I guess, favorable. And I do think that for them in this particular round, they play Houston. So in my mind, it's kind of unfortunate that they play Houston because, sorry, forgive me again. I would have hoped that Houston would have been able to meet them in the national championship game, and that would have been better for me as a fan. But I will say, if Houston can't beat Duke, nobody will.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
If Duke can get past Houston, and arguably it's convincing, which I don't think is going to be like a convincing win like they've been having. I don't think they're just going to come in and stomp all over Houston. But I do think Duke will win this game. And so if Houston can't beat Duke, I think Duke is headed to winning a national championship. Cooper Flagg will deliver the goods to Duke with a natty, and then he will move forward and make his way into the NBA draft as a national champion.
Yeah, no doubt. I see that happening as well. I really do think the winner of this Duke and Houston game wins the whole championship. I think if Houston were to make it to the championship game, they beat anybody on that side of the bracket as well.
Agree.
So, I think Duke's been playing great. I agree with your points, and I'm very, very excited to see what they could do in this upcoming Final Four. Moving on to our third and final topic of the halftime report. You see, I'm wearing the hat.
Yeah.
We're from the South Side.
Yeah.
Our Chicago White Sox.
Well, I'm really from the West Side. I live on the South Side now.
There you go.
But
there you go.
Even though I'm not from the South Side, being from the West Side still made me a White Sox fan.
There you go. Yeah. So our beloved Chicago White Sox, they won opening day very convincingly.
Yeah.
They've been looking pretty okay, man. They're in the series right now with the Minnesota Twins. I believe the first game was yesterday, meaning Tuesday, March 31st, I believe it was.
Tuesday, April 1st.
Yes. Oh, April 1st. That's what it is. And they won 9-0. A shutout, and just an absolute crazy game for our batters. The bullpen's looking great. The pitching rotation's looking great.
Yeah.
The guys are hitting the ball. My expectation for this year isn't necessarily high. I think there will be a drastic improvement from last year.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a more watchable product. Like last year, you couldn't pay me to sit down and watch the Chicago White Sox game because of how bad they were. And,
no, sir.
We saw at Guaranteed Rate Field, the the stands were just absolutely empty.
Yeah.
You could get a ticket for $5. I mean, that's what I liked about it. I didn't go though, but I thought it was gonna be a waste of time. But I mean, this year it might be worth it, man. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that they're gonna do anything crazy, but I do expect them to take a pretty decent jump. Regarding their record, they are playing better ball, and it's exciting to see because. I've been a White Sox fan growing up. Their last championship was in 06.
I think it was 05.
Or 05. Yeah, 05 or 06. I forget.
Yeah.
That's fucking terrible of me. But, it's a fun time when the White Sox are good, and I think a lot of other MLB fans can agree on that. What do you think? What do you think about these Chicago White Sox this year?
I agree with you in the fact that, like, they are going to be a much better product to watch. And I think that's the most important thing, is that we're going to be able to enjoy watching White Sox baseball, I think, this season. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be like this phenomenal team. I don't think they're necessarily going to win the Central Division. I'm not saying that they're going to even make the playoffs or anything like that. What I'm saying is just that they're going to be a team that you're not going to be ashamed of saying they're giving their best. Because a lot of times, as a fan, you can live with the losses if you know that there is maximum effort. Because then with the maximum effort, as a fan, you can sit back and say, okay, they're giving everything they got. What are the deficiencies of the team? Oh, okay, we need better pitching. Oh, okay, well, we need better defense game. Oh, okay, well, we need better batting. We need some home run hitters. We don't have too many good sluggers. Sure. We don't have guys that can get the ball out the park. Or we don't have guys that can position the baseball correctly in certain moments where we need a run or two.
Yeah.
Guys like that. So it's like, when you get the maximum effort, then you can start identifying as a fan what the deficiencies are. But when you're not getting maximum effort from your players and what you're watching, you don't know what the fuck is wrong.
Yeah.
You can't tell what the problem is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so funny you say that, because I feel like that's so relatable across all sports as well. And we kind of have seen that with some other Chicago teams too. Whether it was the Bears this season, you could argue, at some effort.
The Bulls.
The Bulls at some point this season. The Blackhawks as well this season. Chicago sports has kind of been on a little bit of a downswing here, but hopefully we're coming back up within the next season. It does look like it a little bit for some other teams. But, yeah, I mean, very promising to see what this White Sox team is doing at the moment. I don't believe they're positive yet, but I believe they are roughly hanging around almost 500. As long as they could stay around there and not go too far into the negative, I'm content, because last year's team was absolutely atrocious to watch. Yeah. Like, I watched a couple of games, and, man, I tuned out within the first 15 minutes because I'm like, what is this team doing? Like, we got guys hitting grounders and jogging the first base, not even trying to run it out. We've got a team that was incapable of turning two. Like, it was a terrible product on the field on the diamond last year. So definitely looking a lot better this season.
I just want to see them try hard, and at the end of the day, like, again, as a fan, that's what allows you to become I won't say complacent about the situation, but it allows you to just kind of understand, all right, I don't need to be so outraged because I understand what we're missing.
Yeah.
So now, as I can identify as a fan, oh, we're lacking this. That's why we're losing. Oh, we're lacking that. That's why we're losing. Then you start to look at it and go, well, they're giving everything that they can for the time being. When they can get this added, or when they can get this additional, when we can go find a player that does this, then I could be like, okay, well, we got that. Now I can raise the expectations, or now I can have a better idea, or at least more well-wishing for what the potential outcome can be, because we've added those things that I have identified as deficiencies.
Yeah.
That's what allows you to actually start getting pissed at the front office, because it's like, oh, you guys are watching, which is why, like, with the Bears bringing them up, which is why fans were so adamant about being upset with Ryan Poles and different things like that, because we were able to identify as fans that the offensive line was the problem. Now, what did he do all season?
Yeah, he
Identified. Yeah, he identified. Okay, everything I'm doing is going to be trench heavy from the defensive line to the offensive line. So now, as fans, we're walking into the season again. We're going to wait to have this conversation, but we're walking into the conversation or walking into the season or going into the season saying we knew what the deficiencies were. Those have been identified. So now we can have quote unquote proper expectations.
Sure.
And so with the White Sox again, what we're seeing from opening day and going forward right now, it looks like they're just giving maximum effort. And so as a fan, we're able to sit back and go back and look and go, okay, if they are losing, this is potentially the reasons why.
Yeah.
And then we can build from that and go from there and just be excited that the team we're watching is trying hard because that's what you pay for. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you want the wins, but more than anything else, you want them to go out there and give their all. Yeah, that's it. That's all you're really asking for as a fan. Give everything you got to this game because I'm out here paying for it. I'm bringing my kid. I'm bringing my daughter. I'm bringing my son. I'm bringing a family. We're spending money. We're getting drunk. We're having fun. We're having, you know what I'm saying? Like, This is supposed to be a joyous experience. We don't do all this, get everybody dressed, bring everybody out to come out here and boo. That's not what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And we're not, and obviously we're not coming out here to watch a bad product either. So it's just like, give us your best effort and we can commend that. We can clap for that. We can cheer for that. But when we see you out there being lackadaisical, nonchalant, melancholy, not really giving a shit, it pisses us off. It pisses us off and it makes it something that we don't want to buy into and something that we don't want to watch, something that we don't want to go see and something that we don't want to bring our family to.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with you there. Let's go ahead and transition to the halftime prediction. All right. So, we were talking about it. The Final Four in NCAA men's basketball is upon us.
Yep.
It's all number one seeds. First time since 2008. That was the year that Derrick Rose was in Memphis. It's when UCLA had Russell Westbrook and Kevin Love. That's when Kansas had Tyler Hansborough. And we see this year, we got Duke, Houston, Auburn, and Florida.
Yep.
They're in the Alamo Dome. That 2008 Final Four was in the Alamo Dome. It's kind of funny. But I think,
and that was the last time all number one seeds made it.
Exactly. Yep. All number one seeds. So I think this Final Four is going to be a heater. Maybe not necessarily on the Duke side. I think it's going to be a close game. I do have Duke winning the game, but I think the other side with Florida and Auburn,
that's going to be a letdown game. It's not. I don't think it's going to be a tight game.
Just because of Auburn losing their guy, but man, if Auburn came out and played strong and was able to beat that Florida team, I guarantee you it'd be a crazy game because you would see absolutely crazy performances from their number 2, number 3 options. Guys.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And that's the beautiful March Madness and this Final Four in this NCAA tournament. So I mean, my question turns it over to you. You kind of briefly mentioned it earlier, but how do you see each matchup playing out? Whether you could go ahead and start with Duke and Houston, move on over to Florida and Auburn. Kind of how do you see these games playing out? Maybe style of basketball being played. Who's going to win by how many, and then what the championship game looks like as well.
I'm gonna say I'm starting with Auburn and Florida. I think the only way Auburn wins that game is if they get outstanding performances from their secondary players, because their star player I think went down. He may or may not decide to show up in this game. I don't necessarily know. I haven't heard reports that he's like definitively out. And maybe they're just keeping that hush so that if he shows up, it's something that Florida can't necessarily game plan for. But obviously, if you're a good coach, you're going to game plan for that guy being there. But I think Auburn has to get performances from guys that typically would not be the guy. You're gonna have to do this as a complete team. Their defense is gonna have to be immaculate.
Yes.
Like no miss moments, help defense, weak side defense, trapping if they're deciding to trap certain spaces. Like there can't be any missed assignments consistently. Now it's basketball, so mistakes are gonna happen.
Of course, right.
But you can't have consistently. You can't make mishap after mishap after mishap and negative play after negative play. That's gonna kill Auburn immediately. If they can find themselves having more positive plays than negative plays, I think that gives them a good chance to make the game competitive. If their star player is not playing, it will make it very, very difficult for them to win. So what I'm hoping for is at least they can make it competitive, but I do think they will lose because they lost their best player. For Houston and Duke, Houston is going to have to make that game a transition game. They're going to have to get up in the open floor. They're going to have to play fast. Again, another team that's going to have to be ferocious on defense, especially on the perimeter. They're going to have to get up in the Duke guards and make sure that those Duke guards can't have a free lane to the basket.
And we know they're capable of that.
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
so
yeah.
That's going to be the
they can't have
part.
free lanes to the basket. They can't easily play the pick and roll game with their bigs. And Houston is going to have to knock down a three-pointer. They're going to have to knock down the three-point shots. If Houston can do that, I think Houston will win. Duke is just going to have to be a bigger team. They're just going to have to overpower them. They're going to have to slow the game down, really abuse them in the half court, take advantage of their height, take advantage of their physicality. And if Duke can do that, then Duke will walk away with a victory. Who am I picking for that game?
It's okay to say it, Coach. It's okay. I know it pains your soul, but it's okay to say it.
Oh, man. It does pain my soul. I'm picking Duke.
There you go.
To win that game. And I'm picking Florida to beat Auburn.
Okay.
And if Duke plays Florida in a national championship, unfortunately, I don't think that game is going to be a good one.
I personally could see that being a blowout, man.
That's going to be a belt to ass game.
Mm.
Duke is going to absolutely wipe the floor with Florida in that national championship game.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And the ratings will go up because it'll just be such a phenomenal display of offense from Cooper and the rest of that Duke team that we'll just watch the way Florida gets their ass handed to them.
I think Florida's offense will just shut down too. Like they're just gonna have an ultimate, shitter. I like to call it. Like they're just gonna have a crazy bad game, and it's gonna be accredited to Duke's great defense and Duke playing good in the half court and slowing down the game. And no, I agree with you on all those points. You know what I mean? I think definitely the more interesting matchup and the more deciding matchup will be that Duke and Houston game. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, it's gonna be good, man. I'm really looking forward to that. Seriously, do
you think Auburn has a chance? Like,
I think they do simply because of the nature of March Madness, and that is a team that has gotten here so far,
right?
Because of the complete structure of the team. It's not necessarily just because of the star player. Like, yeah, he's had a massive impact on how this season has gone and how the tournament has gone, but I think they could rally together and make some magic happen. Absolutely, I'm a believer in it, but I do still have Florida winning that game though, and playing Duke in the national championship and Duke comfortably.
Now, let me ask you this. If the Auburn star player didn't go down, would you be picking Auburn or Florida still?
It's a tough one because I think it's an incredibly close game. I think it still can be even without the star player. I think Auburn is a very complete team. I don't see necessarily many holes within their team. I know Auburn fans are believers in this group specifically. So I definitely think if they had their star player, I'd be more inclined to pick Auburn to go to the national championship game. But it really is like 50-50 at that point. Right now, I'm leaning Florida because it's at like a 55-60-40 type of, split just because of that star player going down. But I think if he was back, I think it's definitely way closer to 50-50, and that game could possibly would have gone to overtime.
And you don't have any belief that Houston beats Duke.
I could see it happening, but I just give it a very low probability of happening.
Will that game be close, or will that be a blowout?
It'll be close.
Duke?
It'll be close. Because I'm a believer in Houston's defense.
Right.
Not necessarily their offense. I think Duke will be capable of slowing the game down.
Okay.
And make Houston play half court offense, which I think Houston might struggle with. But I think Houston will be able to have almost as much of an impact on the defensive end. To Duke as well. Like, I think Houston could really, with their defensive scheming that they've had, and they've had it for multiple years now. Yeah. Like, it's not like it's their first year doing this, but they just have more fit players to run this scheme and system. I think Houston could definitely make this game a lot more challenging for Duke than they've encountered all season. Absolutely.
I agree.
But I still got Duke winning. Okay. Not comfortably, but it'll be anywhere between 2 to 6 points, in my opinion. I think it's going to be very, very close game all the way down to the wire.
And so essentially you have Duke winning the national championship as well.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely I do. That was my pick at the beginning of the tournament, but that was a lot of people's picks. I don't think a lot of us expected all the number 1 seeds to get here though. So it's fun. It's a fun one. I wish everybody was healthy so we could watch the full product, but I still do think, they are number 1 seeds for a reason.
Yeah.
Those teams are deep.
Agree.
So it'll be fun to watch. Anyways, that's been the halftime predictions. Just to wrap up our show, I want to dedicate a little time to talking about our Patreon. Last week, meaning episode 26, we took our time after the session to record a little Patreon video for you guys where we were discussing a certain topic. You guys could definitely view that on the Patreon, but we are the Halftime Podcast on Patreon. If you just look us up, you will find us with our same logo. On there, you'll find links to our Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube as well.
Right.
It's a $5 a month subscription. There you could definitely find exclusive content such as, whether it's studio sessions where we take a little bit more time out of the studio time to kind of dive deeper into a topic that we didn't cover in the main episode. Maybe more vlogs that are, kind of recorded, whether it's my personal life, me coaching at an AAU tournament, maybe Coach Malcolm's doing something as well. Us breaking down film, we kind of covered this in a previous episode, but we want to kind of just centralize the more exclusive content in one area, receive support from you guys, and us being able to pay it back to you guys by doing more for you. So if you guys are interested, it's just Patreon, the Halftime Podcast. We will include links to that on our TikTok, and it's going to be in the description of this YouTube video as well. If you're listening on Spotify, you could go ahead, just find us on Patreon, and you will find us also on Instagram too. So it's exciting. I'm really satisfied with how the first little recording session went. I think it was fun. It was a fun little conversation.
It was a great conversation.
And I think it's a conversation that not a lot of people are having because it's kind of been blown over for the past couple of years. I think it was happening when it happened. But
I don't even think it was happening when it happened. I think the conversation was what we said the conversation was. It never ever got to it never got to where we decided to take that conversation. It never made it that far.
Absolutely.
It just stayed within the realm of what we said the conversation has always been. But I just want to say our Patreon gonna be lit, bitch.
Yeah.
You gotta I just want y'all to understand that shit gonna be lit. And look, we've made it past the 15-minute mark on YouTube, so I can really say the things that I want to say without us being demonetized. The shit gonna be lit. So make sure you check into that Patreon, all right?
Hey man, it's just $5 a month. We appreciate any support that you guys show us. We're not there on YouTube yet or on anything to be making any money. So if you guys, really wanted to support us, Patreon's a great way of doing it. And just for $5 a month, you unlock a boatload of new content that would be available for you on a week-to-week basis. So definitely looking forward to, having you guys watch and subscribe and join our group over there on Patreon. And, we thank you guys in advance because, just a $5 contribution goes a long way for us. So we appreciate that. Anything you want to add here at the end, Coach, before we go ahead and wrap this up?
Yeah, I just want to say that Patreon is where you're going to get us, Ben. That's where you're going to get us.
Yeah, that's going to be
really
us.
saying some of the things that we really want to say about some stuff. That's where you're going to get the halftime court. That's where you're going to get the halftime conversations. That's where you're going to get like all of the in-depth stuff about, like I said, us and our different coaching personalities, how we view the game, what we think about certain players. It's really where you're going to get more raw, uncut material, and stuff like that. Like Coach already explained, but I just want to make sure you understand. So you get more of a personal look at like who me and Coach are and why we work with each other, and sometimes why we kind of be like, man, you stay over there and I'm gonna stay the fuck over here, right? So it's gonna be a great experience for you as a viewer, and we just want to make sure you understand that. Like I said, the Patreon is gonna be lit, bitch.
Yes,
so
sir.
Make sure you tune in to the Patreon. Other than that, I'm starting to feel a little bit better, Coach.
I can tell, man, you warmed up a little bit. So
other than that, like we always do, you know how it goes. See red, bear down. I'm Coach Malcolm.
I'm Coach Conrad.
And this has been another episode of the Halftime Podcast, baby.
Take care, y'all.
Shit, I finally got my shit together towards the end.
There you go, yeah. I kind of noticed when you started talking about the White Sox. I'm like, oh, the motherfucker woke up a little bit.